Hello everybody and welcome to part 2. Follow me and let's get started. If you remember last week, I now have this big beautiful sketch to color. And of course this is going to be a mixed media piece, so I'm going to be using multiple mediums in order to complete it. And I am starting this off with some watercolor pencils by Derwent. These are absolutely perfect to start with the dirt down below. And of course I'm starting off with this shade of brown because what other color would dirt be? If you've never used watercolor pencils before, I highly recommend them because they are absolutely magical. I added some black before moving on to the next step. Now right here is the fun part. I have myself a little water brush right here that works perfectly for this part. They're super easy to find. They're usually at craft stores or on Amazon. I made sure to very easily drip some water right on top of the paper's surface. If you decide to try this and do it the way I am, make sure that your paper is on a flat surface. I find it so satisfying to watch all the graininess of the pencil turn into really smooth details. I waited for the paper to dry and kept adding layers of color until it was as dark as I wanted it to be. Here I am shading in a circular pattern because it gives it a dirt-like texture. I went over my lines very gently with a wet brush, being very careful not to remove the texture. And once my paper was dry again, I went in with colored pencils to add more depth and detail. And I do apologize, but the gremlin inside me wanted to record this video in the dark. But luckily enough, I remembered that light exists. Moving on to the next stage of this project, I wanted to work on the rotting wood in the background. And I started on it with some watercolor pencils. Using my water brush, I made sure to go in the direction of the wood's grain. And then once my paper was dry again, I went over it with some Prismacolor Premier colored pencils. repeated the same process for the moss and plants down below. For the ferns, I decided to just go with colored pencils. This part here is a perfect example of why you should use the white colored pencil to blend everything up. I also decided to just use colored pencils for our little moth friend. Colored pencils were also great for these little mushrooms. I completely colored this little worm with some colored pencils and then later went in to touch it up with some acrylic paint. These bigger mushrooms were probably my favorite part of this whole entire project. And finally, I moved on to color this little cutie. For something this small, colored pencils were kind of a challenge. I kind of wish I had some skin-colored markers to use for this part, but colored pencils ended up working just fine. I then went around the piece and finished up any other details that required colored pencils. I wanted this fairy to have some beautiful sparkly wings, so I went ahead and grabbed some folk art metallic paint. I also used the gold paint to touch up some other places throughout the piece. This fairy was so small that for the finer details I ended up using Prismacolor's fine line markers. I wanted his wings to look like dragonfly wings, so I ended up using the fine line markers for some extra details. To finish up some highlights, I ended up using some white acrylic paint by Liquitex. I also did end up applying a few thin layers of paint over the line work simply because I thought it was just a bit too outstanding. And of course, for the cherry on top, I had to sign this piece. And just like that, after many hours of hard work, this piece is finally complete. Hello everybody, it is me again, here to show you the exact size of this piece. This piece is done on 9x12 mixed media paper, and I am super happy with how this thing turned out. I seriously mean it, and I'll keep saying it. Thank you all so much for watching these videos, and until next time, keep me in mind.